Okay, so let's start the session. Let me share my screen. Okay, so I have shared my screen and I hope my notepad is actually visible to you guys. All right, so let's start with that. So first of all, a quick introduction. So my name is Amit Gupta and I have 8+ years of experience in performance testing and engineering. And I will be your instructor throughout this course. So first, what we are going to cover in this course. So here are the few key things that I have listed here. But it's not quite limited to these points. We will touch around all the related concepts. The key things is like we are going to understand the performance testing, terminologies and core concepts. So what actually performance testing is, what type of testing, in what situation, what type of testing you need. So all those concepts. And then definitely you need a tool to do this performance testing. You might be aware that there are different tools available in market. So we are going to use this JMeter. Additionally, there are other tools, but since we have chosen this based on few benefits we have, so we'll learn performance testing. We'll apply performance testing concepts using this tool only. We'll look around GUI and non-GUI mode, how we can use this JMeter tool to do our performance testing in 2 different modes. And definitely, since this performance testing requires a tool, in this we are going to use JMeter, so that requires scripting. So any tool apart from JMeter, if you have idea like load runner or neoload or any other tool that has their own scripting way, and basically you need a script to be written as per the tool specific. Okay, so in terms of JMeter, we are going to learn about the scripting or the JMeter scripting. So we'll look what are the different concepts of scriptings are, like how to record a script, how to fix some problems if there are into the script, how to do some other script related stuffs, correlation and parameterization. So these things will look into details. Then we'll talk about scenario designing. So this scenario designing will be specific to JMeter, and other tools have their own way of designing scenarios. So first we'll understand what scenarios are in terms of performance testing, and then how we can design those different type of scenarios using this JMeter tool. A common concept of data-driven testing. So we'll look around that and we'll implement this data-driven testing in JMeter itself. Again, the database testing, which we will be using, which we will be doing using this JMeter tool. So JMeter tool itself is capable enough of handling multiple protocols. So the database is a different protocol on which we will be testing, which is JDBC. So we'll look around testing the database directly and not through the application. So we'll learn about database testing as well. And then a quick look on this REST APIs. If you are aware of the APIs testing, we can quickly design different scenarios, different workloads using different APIs you have, and we can create a test plan in JMeter. We'll look around a few basic concepts of bin shell or JSR223 scripting. So this goes a little bit in advanced level. So we'll touch around this, and then we'll talk about the reporting concepts, what different reports are available, and we'll look into the HTML report generation part into JMeter. And definitely there are different terminologies that we use in performance testing when we talk about the report. So we'll cover those terminologies. Okay, so we'll stick around these topics, focusing on these, but yeah, surrounding things will be definitely covered. And if you have any specific questions around these topics or some other questions apart from these topics, that I will try to answer those as well. Okay, so I hope everything you are expecting out of this course is covered into it. All right, since this is a demo session, so I will encourage you to have your questions, whatever question you have in your mind, what's your expectations are, or what you are looking out of this course. You can just put those questions. Okay, so I have a question like, do we need any experience about performance testing for this course? Okay, so performance testing related experience you don't need, because I will be starting this course from very beginning, and you will be able to start performance testing if you know nothing about it. But in order to start this course, as I have a course prerequisite here, you should be having the knowledge in software industry in any role. It's fair enough if you are a functional tester, manual tester, or a developer or a manager, but you should be having a background in software industry. That's what the prerequisite of this course is. Okay, any other question, or should we move to the today's agenda? Okay, feel free to ask any question that you have. Just a second. Okay, so let's start with the today's agenda. And I have taken this example from the wiki page. So the first is like, what is performance testing, or what is perf testing? We make it performance, so we call perf as well. So the straightaway definition is like, in software quality assurance, performance testing is in general a testing practice performed to determine how a system performs in terms of responsiveness, stability under a particular workload. So 3-4 words from here, that how a system performs in terms of responsiveness. So let me take these words out. Responsiveness, stability under a particular workload. Okay. And yeah, how a system performs. Okay, so this is all about performance testing that we are going to learn. So what we have to do, we have to observe few characteristics. So this responsiveness and stability, we'll call this as for now, just understand that these are the characteristics or the key things that we are going to find out in any system that in terms of responsiveness. So if you are aware of responsiveness, what exactly it is, responsiveness is like how your system is responsive. So responsive means like when I ask something to you, like what's your name? So how quickly you are responding to my question. So I asked you a question, you responded me back immediately. So that's a quite fast response, I would say. I asked something to you and then you took some time, like 5 seconds or 10 seconds of time just to think about the question and then responding back. So that's not a pretty fast response. Okay, so responsiveness is like how quick your application or how quick some thing responds to a question. So in terms of software, what exactly this responsiveness is, the response time. Like we go to a website. Okay, let's say I go to a website, amazon.in. I had hit the enter button and how quickly this page loaded, or basically how responsiveness this page was. So for me, it was quite responsive because as soon as I just enter the press the enter button, it gives me the entire page completely up and running. Okay, so that feels me a quite good responsive page, but in some cases you might not feel the same. So there might be some website you hit a page and that's not completely quickly responding you back. So that behavior we call responsiveness. So that's one thing, is the important thing, or is the character that we are going to find out through the performance testing. So first thing is we are going to look around the responsiveness. And another thing is the stability. Like, okay, my application is responding well, but how stable it is. So when I say stable it is, let's say that for how long, yeah, okay, just a second, guys. Can you see my screen or it's gone?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Yeah, we can see.
Okay, so just a second, because okay, I need to reshare now because I lost my second monitor. So sorry for that, just a second. All right, and now I can see like it should be working. Okay, so let me back to the notepad. Okay, so we were talking about the stability. So stability is something like how stable your application is. Responsiveness is one thing, like your application is responding well, but if in some situation we should be concerned about like my application should be stable enough or not. Like if I give you an example that there is huge load on the website, or there are multiple users accessing the website. Let's say for example, let's say the Amazon itself. So if there is a sale going on and there are multiple users doing purchase on the website, it's a long sale, or you can say a mega sale is going on. So in that case, my application should be stable enough to handle those users for a longer duration. Okay, or my user should be able to do things quickly in a in a stable manner. It's not like, okay, response time is good, responsiveness is good, but it's fluctuating in between. It's down for some time and then it's back. And then it's quite responsive though. So responsive is not a problem. It's responding well, but it's down in between. It's fluctuating in between. So those behaviors should also not be acceptable. And to monitor those behavior, we do performance testing and we do monitor those, and we call it stability, like how stable my application is. So these this definition from wiki actually covers these two characteristics. We call it characteristics, okay? And I mean, you can answer this as a for a question like what are the two characteristics of performance testing? There are other characteristics as well. You can just Google about it. So out of other characteristics, these two are, I mean, among those, which is the responsiveness and stability. Few other characteristics I can mention is the request per second or request per minute. Like, okay, my application is handling this much of request per second or per minute, whatever unit you can say. So that's one other characteristics as well. Okay, so the idea is we have to do a performance testing, and we have to look around these details. What's the responsiveness? What's the stability? How many users my application can handle, like 1,000 users, 50,000 users, like 1 lakh users. And so those things we identify by doing this performance testing, or I mean, identifying these things under a type of testing is actually called the performance testing. Okay, I think this should be clear to you, and definitely there is a workload involved. So when we say workload, is actually the load that we put into the application, and load is actually like number of users you can think at this moment. We feed up application with multiple users like 1,000, 50,000, 1 lakh. So we simulate those much of users on the application, and we look around these characteristics. We look around the responsiveness, like how my application is responding. We look about the stability and more other characteristics. Okay, so this is one of the definition, and I hope this should be clear to you, like what we do in performance testing and what we look actually. Okay, so I mean, it's a general definition, but I will walk you through different objectives of performance testing. There can be different scenarios where we look about some specific characteristics, and we focus on some very specific things while doing performance testing. That depends upon the demand of performance testing or the requirement that we get. So it's all about the requirement that we get, what type of requirement we have, and based on that requirement, what we have to actually look into. Okay, so let's move to the JMeter, and I think most of you are aware that JMeter is just a tool that helps in doing performance testing, and I would refer you to the actual JMeter website for a quick reference. Okay, so just go to the website, which is jmeter.apache.org, and just go to the overview, not the download, but you can just Google about JMeter and go to the overview page just here. And let me put you into the chat as well, though it's very easy to get this link, but anyway. Okay, so this is a quite good quick start for the JMeter. What can I do with JMeter? And a quite good definition that you can read from this website. Now there are multiple resources, but this is one of the very good resource I found personally. What different type of testing we can do, what other things are available, and a very quick and detailed link this page can provide. All right, so if you just read the very first paragraph, that it's an open source software, 100% pure Java application designed to load, test functional behavior and measure performance. So you can actually do the functional behavior testing as well, but now it was actually initially designed to do such functional behavior as well, but now it has been more used for doing performance testing. Okay, so you can read about JMeter from here, and since it's an open source application, you need not to pay any license for it, and it's 100% Java application, so you can think about the benefits you can get. You can run it on any platform, either on Windows, Linux, or Mac. So that's a very, I mean, quite good things about this JMeter being free. You can use without any license and on any platform. So compatibility is quite good. Integration is quite good. You can integrate JMeter with the different other applications as well. So that's what the benefits are. And more important, that it's a tool that we are going to use as a performance testing tool. Okay, so we talked about the course prerequisite. Anyone in software industry having any designation or any profile can opt for this course, but should be having knowledge in software industry. Okay, if you are an automation tester, manual tester, that's good. Developer profile you have, that's also good. You can gain good knowledge. You would be able to run JMeter load test on your own. You would be able to understand the different type of testing, and based on the situation, you can think of doing the right performance testing and looking at the right performance characteristics on your own. Okay, so there is a question like, it's a free or licensed software. So it's completely free. You can get it for free, and you can run it as an enterprise in your enterprise or in your it's completely free and don't need any license or any kind of approval. And not only free, it's actually these open source as well. So you need not worry about the licensing cost or any legal issues. You can use it anywhere. Okay, so I hope that we are going good. So prerequisite we covered. Now let's talk about the JMeter setup and launch. Okay, so it's quite simple. I mean, I would even not say that it's a kind of setup anymore, but since if you have not used JMeter so far, or if you're going to use it very first time, so just a few things that you just need to know about it is the, before launching or setting up this JMeter, what you need from the definition, you can see it's a 100% pure Java application. So you got it correctly. You need Java in your system. So whatever platform you are using or whatever system you are using, if you are on Windows or you are on Mac or you are on Linux, the only thing is required is the Java. And I hope that all of you are having Java set up in your system and running other applications which requires Java. And even you don't need JDK, it's fair enough to just have the JRE. Okay. And before launching this JMeter, if I go to the download releases. So on this download page, you can see the latest version is 5.5, which requires Java 8 plus. So ensure like you have Java 8 plus in your system set up before running this 5.5 version. And in my case, I do have my system quite completely set up with Java. So I have Java 8 plus running in my system. And Let me walk you through that, how you can download, extract, and simply run this JMeter in your system. So assuming like you already have Java set up in your system. If not, just let me know. I can just guide you, not in this session, but later. Or it's quite easy. I mean, you can get many easy resources that how you can complete the Java setup in your system. If you're not, in case if you're not able to complete it, just let me know. I can guide you. I'm just assuming that you have Java 8 plus in your system. So considering that, here are the two things. Source, you don't need to download. So it's the source. If you want to look into the code, what the codes are, how JMeter works, and what things are written, you can go with the source as well. You can look around, but that's something beyond this course, where we are not going to get into this source, and you need not to download this. Only thing you need to focus on is the binaries. Okay, so binaries we have, one is the zip, one is the .tzz. So it's recommended to download the zip folder or zip version on the Windows machine, and this one you can go with Linux or Mac. I think so. So there's a question like Java 8 will be okay. So yeah, Java 8 plus is written. So what minor version you have, I think that should be okay. So definitely that should be okay. What I can say for now, but if not, you can just go with one more minor version, or just check around it. Okay. So if you have Java 8, let that be, and try proceeding with the next step. So under the download section, under the binaries, go for the zip if you are going to run it on Windows. In my case, I will go with the zip only, being on Windows machine. So just click on it. It will download the setup for you. Okay, that's quite straightforward. Once the download is complete, let me go to the download. Okay, so here is the zip folder. Now what you have to do, you have to extract it. Now it's up to you that where you are extracting it. It can be any location. You can put it in C drive, D drive, or whatever, wherever you want. You just extract it anywhere. So in my case, I already have extracted it into my D folder, Amit W2A. And once you extract it, you will be getting a folder like this, Apache JMeter 5.5. So this is the parent folder of JMeter. Just extract it anywhere and you will get this folder. Now, go into this folder and you will get all these folders and few other files. How to launch it? Just go into the bin, and there you will find jmeter.bat. Okay. So jmeter.bat is the batch file. You just have to double click on it for Windows machines. So if you just double click on it, it will pop up a command prompt and will launch the JMeter. Okay, so that's for Windows. And on Linux or on Mac machines, you have to execute jmeter.sh file through the terminal. So at whatever location you have extracted this folder, get into that folder, get into the bin, and then execute this jmeter.sh file. Simply sh jmeter.sh. And if you have Java set up in your system accurately, you will exactly get the same UI popped up. That's pretty straightforward, and I hope that this would be not difficult for you to launch this UI. So that's what all about the JMeter setup. You have to just go to the JMeter official website, go to the download releases page right here. Go to the jmeter.apache.org, and then you go to the download releases. You come to the binaries and you download the zip or the TZZ. You download it anywhere in your system, extract it anywhere you like to put JMeter, whatever location you want. Go into that folder and then get into the bin folder and then execute through the terminal for Mac and Linux. And for Windows machine, just go and double click jmeter.bat. I hope this should be clear, and then you will get this JMeter UI pop up. So that's what the JMeter setup is. It's not actually a complex setup. It's just a matter of having correct Java and executing the jmeter.sh or double clicking jmeter.bat. Okay, so now since you got this UI, let me show you something. So at this stage, let me quickly show you that what this UI is, and let me introduce you. So these are the menus we have, and this is the test plan. So by default, when you pop up, when you launch the JMeter, you will end up having empty test plan here. So this is the left side, and I can adjust it. So in the left hand side, you get the test plan as empty test plan when you launch, and in the right hand side you get the detail of this test plan. So by default this test plan is selected and you get the detail of this test plan. You can rename this test plan as per the project, as per the work, or as per the performance testing you are doing. So you can rename it as a test plan or a project, I mean with your project name or something, whatever you feel is making correct meaning, giving correct meaning to you. So you can rename it. And these are the shortcut buttons which are given here, like save and cut and run and start, no pauses. So I mean these buttons are there, but you not need to worry about these buttons at this moment. But we have file, edit, and other menus in place. So these are the menus, these are the shortcut buttons given here, and at the left hand side we have a test plan. At this moment, very quickly, let's try creating a simple JMeter script. Okay, we'll create a simple script. Definitely we are going to do it manually. Okay, and then we are going to do a quick test by creating this script manually. And for that, let me give you a website which you can also take as for your practice references, which is JPet store or the pet store. Okay. Okay, this one, let me ping you. Okay, so this is one of the good website you can start actually doing your practice and learning about scripting. So this is an application. For that, we are going to create a simple script manually. Let me walk you through this application first. So this is a demo application. You can launch this application. You can do a sign in. You can put the username, which is J2EE, and the password would be same. You can log in into the application. Okay, since you are logged in, it's now showing the logout page, and it's giving you a welcome message as well. So you can buy pets here. So there are categories here: fish, dogs, cats, and others. So let me just go through this application once. Try buying any of the pet. So I go to the fish, I select a product ID, and then I add that product to a cart, and then I proceed to checkout. And then I actually put some payment details. So being a demo or dummy website, it already fills the form with the required details which are required actually. So these are the default pre-filled details, and you need not to actually change, or if you want you can just change it, but just quickly go through with the continue. And then finally it will give you a summary, and then what order details you have, and then the shipping details you have, and you can confirm and you can place your order. Okay, so that's a demo application through which you can launch the application, log in, go to the different categories, select a product, add a product to cart, check out, and then place order. Okay, so this entire stuff, actually what I did, I launched the application, login, and then if I just write these things very quickly here, I launched the application, I logged in, I clicked on a category, and then added to cart. Or before that, I selected a product, added to cart, and then checkout, okay, and then payment details, and then place order. One more step I would add is the sign out. So finally, once my order is placed, I sign out. Okay, so these steps I performed manually, and let me give you one more thing. So all these steps I did are actually the flows we call it flows. Okay, you can think of is a kind of I would say the application path, you can also call it. Okay, so the idea is that I did all these I performed and I went through the application by going through all these pages, and this covers the very key things or key pages of this application: launch page, logged in, and then because when I have an application like this, which provides me ability to buy some product online. So if I have if I am interested in buying one of the product, I would typically follow all these flows. I will launch the application and then will log in, and then we'll select one of the category, and then we'll add that, and basically I will follow all these flows. So these are the key business pages that we can think of this application has. Okay, so these are the key pages, and we call this a sequence of pages that we follow for any application, which are important pages that we are going to cover in our performance testing. We call that as a flow. So in this case, we have a flow which consists of all these different pages: launch, login, and other pages. Okay, so the idea is that we have to do the performance testing for all these pages, and we have to look about the responsiveness and stability of the application. So we have to go through these pages with the help of JMeter, put some load on these pages. You remember we talked about the workload. Okay, so here the workload is actually the number of users we would be simulating on this website, and those users, what those users will be doing, will hitting those pages in sequence. So user one comes and go through all these pages, and simultaneously at the same time user two comes and go through all these pages or this flow. And in the meantime, we will be looking around the responsiveness and stability of this application, or for individual pages as well. Okay, like what's the response time my launch page gives me, what's the response time my login page gives, and finally the place order page, and all different pages we can look about the responsiveness and stability. That's what we will be doing. So in that part, let's talk about the very first page, launch page, because in order to run performance testing for all these pages on this application, we have to have a script in JMeter. So my JMeter can walk through all these pages. Like you create a script. If I can take an example of the automation testing, if you have multiple pages to cover in your automation, you just interlink those pages by navigating through those pages, either through the link or by clicking on the button. Okay, so you extract the actual linking between two pages. From one page you click, and then you look for some assertions, you look for some specific things you are looking on that page, and then you go to the next page and you look for the specific thing you look on that page as a part of validation. And in this way you go from start to end, covering all those pages. So similarly, in JMeter as well, we should be having a script that my JMeter can follow all these pages from start to end. So that we call a script, and designing that script manually for such an application where we have multiple pages is not that easy. Okay, because manually you can go for one or two pages. Now you can go manually for all these pages, you can design the script manually, but that would be a tedious task and highly chances of having scripting errors. So there are ways to overcome these problems, and we have a recording option. We can actually record the entire application by going through the pages step by step, and we can do a recording. My JMeter will automatically generate the JMeter script for those pages. So that's a different part that we will cover in our next sessions, how to record an application. But at this moment, let's talk about designing a script manually. So let's take an example of just one page, and we are not going to take all these pages in our designing aspect. We will just taking a single page, launch page, and we'll design a script for that, and we'll do a quick short performance test just to understand the responsiveness and few other things that we will talk about. Okay, so this JMeter is quite new to you, and I understand that many other things that I might be doing here will not make sense to you at this moment, but just for the sake of demo, and just take it as a kind of demonstration, like how things works. You can try relating these things in the based on the next sessions as well. At this moment, let's follow, like in order to create a script, what actually things I need when I go for a manual script creation process. So the first thing, you have to right click on this test plan, and there are different menus, different things you can see here, and the most important is the add, and here comes different items or elements that we would be adding in our JMeter test plan based on the requirement that we have. So that's a part of a script designing. At this moment, what we need is a thread or the users, the very first thing. And even in the, if you can look, if I just go to add and threads, there are different thread groups available, or that there are different threads or users available. And these are the parts of scenario designing. We talked about the scenario designing, how to design different scenarios. So here it actually comes. Based on the type of scenario or based on the requirement, we design different scenarios, and these threads or users helps us achieving those different requirements. Okay, so that's another part that we will be covering. But at this moment, the very straightforward and simple thread or user is the thread group. So just click on it and you will end up adding this thread group. Just remember that whatever you select in the left hand side under this test plan, the details will be displayed at the right hand side. Okay, left hand side and right hand side is separated by this bar. So I added a thread group for which the details are displayed here. Let all these things default at this moment, though these have their own meaning and have their own settings. So these definitely go through points that we will be covering, but at this moment, let this be as a default, whatever we get here. And next, on the thread group, add a sampler HTTP request. Okay, so what this HTTP request is actually the way to access a page. This thread group provides us the number of users you want to generate, and this samplers, which is of type HTTP request that we have selected, is a way to access a page. So if I take you to this website, I have this website which I can access through this URL. That's what the details I need actually. So let me copy it, put it into the notepad. Okay. So I have to access this URL, so I can hit that into the JMeter, and where I need to put this URL or page actually is the HTTP request. The reason I took HTTP request, if you look closely, I right click on thread group, go to the add, and then sampler. There are different samplers available. HTTP request, you can think of FTP request, JDBC request. If you can just quickly think of JDBC request, this will help you running a query against a database directly. Okay, so in that case, if you are going to do a database testing, then you need this type of protocol. Okay, in our case, and in most of the cases, which is I can say more than 90% of the cases, we only be dealing with the HTTP request, because most of the application runs on HTTP and HTTPS protocol. So that's why we choose HTTP request. So this HTTP request is capable of handling both protocol, HTTPS and normal HTTP. Okay, so by default, if you don't put anything, the protocol would be HTTP. But in our case, we have our application running on protocol HTTPS. So we have to put it here, and the name or the IP. So this part will be added automatically by the JMeter. You need not to add this part. You only have to have this part, which will go into the domain server name or IP part. Okay, and the other part, which is the next part after the server name or IP, or the main website part, is this, and that goes into the, so if I just copy it back to the JMeter, I should be putting this part under the path section. Okay, and see, there are many things that we need to take care while doing things manually. Okay, that's why I told that doing things or doing scripting manually is actually a very effort that requires quite effort, and it's quite obvious to have errors doing things manually. But since it was a single page, I just added it, but you can record that for the ease. Running on HTTPS protocol, I put this part here, and since it's a GET request, so that will be the default one. Okay, now I can rename this page as a launch page. Okay, and one more thing I just need to add is the listener. Go to the thread group, go to the listener, and then add view results tree. Okay, so what we did, we added a thread group which will help us generating the number of users. We added a page which will hit the page with that number of users, and we added a view results tree which will show the result of this page, like my user go, my first user go, the only one user we have, so that one user go hit the page, and then my view results tree will display the details, that what was the page response time, when my request is started, when my response completed, and many other details that we can get into this view results tree. So at this moment, adding these three things manually completes a test plan. We have designed a test. Actually, now you might be thinking of the test plan and the script. Okay, so in general conversation, we call it a script. Okay, And this test plan consists of different parts or different elements. Okay, and when we save this, let me save this, save test plan as, or you can use this button as well, or not as, but this only the save, control S, or the save button. You can save it at any place that you want. Let me save that into the JMeter home folder, which is the parent folder, and I can call it demo underscore one. Okay, so I just save this with the name demo.1. Now I can call this demo.1 a JMX demo.1.jmx. So just remember that this whatever we save, whatever script we save in JMeter generates extension of JMX. Okay, so this whole we call it as a script. Now to my colleague, I can say that I provide me the demo underscore one script. Okay, so that's the general thing that we use to call simply a script. That's a test plan, definitely, which has different elements, but we call this a simple script. Okay, you can simply call it demo.1 script or demo.1 JMX, where you call it. So that's what the standard we follow. Internally, JMeter has a test plan. So a script can only have one test plan and multiple thread groups, and obviously multiple different pages. Okay, so any other part we can have multiple, but a script which we named it as a demo underscore one only has a single test plan. Okay, now let me know if you have any questions so far.
I have one question. So here actually we have demo one dot JMX. Okay, let's say I call other script other JMX. So to define separate test plan under this, or do we need to define, means under this we can create multiple test plan, or we need to decide every time separate test plan?
Okay, good question. So here actually first thing that demo underscore one dot JMX can only have a single test plan. Under that, we can have different pages added here. Okay, so for this application, which is one of the applications that we have, we saved that as a demo underscore one. But if you have another application which is completely different, you should be creating a different script for that, saving with that another name. And I just put it as a demo underscore one, but more accurately, I should be putting it like pet store something underscore dot JMX, so that it would be more easy for me to understand. So the idea is, if there are additional pages, or if there are additional logic that you are going to build for this application only, and the associated script is demo underscore one dot separate project, you should always be going with a separate script.
You were not audible for a few seconds.
Okay, I think so. So what I was saying that if there are additional logics, or if there are additional improvement, or you can say like if there are additional pages that I have added into this script, which is related to that website only. So that script demo underscore one is associated or related to the petstore.octopuff.com. So it's you can think of as a project. So if there are changes or improvement or any logic change in that project, so you should be doing those changes into the same script. If there is a different project, if there is a different application, or if there is an entire different logic has been changed, better change it to a new script. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so now you can also think like we have different pages here, and for the same application, we have more pages to cover. So tomorrow, if I am planning to add other pages, it's good to add other page in the same script. Okay. If there is a different project, you create a different script for that. So maintaining different script is good for different projects. And if there is a minor logic change or some improvement for the same project, you change that. Or people generally have different versions as well for the same project. Maintaining a different script like demo_1 or demo_2 improved or demo_3 new logic change something.jmx. So it's up to you. Okay, you can maintain the different JMX as well. And the good thing is this JMX is just a text file that will not take space into the system. So if you get a chance, you just save this JMX at anywhere, and you just go and edit into the a notepad or notepad++. You will see that this is just a XML file. Okay, so that's the simplicity as well. I hope I answered your question. And if anyone has any other question, not just related to this test plan or anything else, just have those.
Amit, I have one more question. So see,
Mhm.
let's say we are having couple of microsites. Okay.
Mhm,
So
mhm,
for each microsite, we need to maintain one JMX, right?
mhm.
And let's say we have a project, so where microsites are there, okay, and we need to call in between also to fetch the data, like we are creating interaction, okay, so after that interaction ID gets created, so that interaction ID actually we need to just consume for other microsites. So how
Got it.
to deal actually such type of scenario? So do we need to create different JMX for each microsite and internally we can call in between, or we need to create different test plan under one JMX only?
Okay, got it. So uh, having separate JMX, you cannot build those relations. Okay. So like you said, you call a endpoint or a microservice and you get some response and you have to reuse that response. You can think of a token, like you call the auth URL, you get a token, and then you have to pass that in the subsequent request in order to call the subsequent request. So for that cases, definitely you don't, you can't fulfill those requirements by having separate JMX. What we do in a single thread group, we just add multiple, we just add all those microservices calls into the single thread group here. So if I simply, just for the sake of demonstrating, what I can do, I can add a thread group, I can add a HTTP request, and I'm just doing this very quickly just for making it simple. So I can call it auth, and then from auth, whatever we are getting, we are fetching those response, and then passing that as a requirement in next call. We can call it like call 1, and then again call 2. So this way we can fulfill those requirements. So simply you can have multiple requests in a single thread group, and you can't do that by having separate script for all these microservices. Was that clear?
Yeah, it's clear. So auth actually we need to read and we need to pass as a request to call 1, call 2, right?
Yeah. And not just auth, any response that you need as a part of next subsequent request, you can do though. And to just give you a hint, this is what we call correlation. That's a part that we are going to cover. So even you can try doing this on your own, how correlation is done. So this is what the actual concept of correlation is. You are getting something as a response of a request, and then you have to use that response in a subsequent request in header or in body or anywhere that you want. So you can extract that part, you can pass that part into the subsequent requests. All right, any other question?
Yeah, one question. So see, we are having authentication, right? Means token. So token actually get expire after every, I mean, certain period of time. So how to make
Mhm.
sure that okay, it will not expire, and whenever actually I want to run from Jenkins or my pipeline, so it will be there every time.
Yeah, so the very easy and quick way is to call the token each and every time that you are running, so that you don't have to build a logic of iterating the auth before the TTL or before the expiry. Though it's it's other way as well. You can if you don't want to call the auth each and every time, you can build a logic to check the expiry, but that will a complex logic that you have to build. In most of the cases, what we do is if it's possible, you call the auth every time and then you go for the request, so that you won't be getting into the expire situation.
So are we seeing all these scenarios in later classes?
um, Definitely. Answering this, I will answer this in a way like we are going to cover all these concepts, okay, even the further concepts that we are going to cover, but now it's your idea that how you are taking those concepts and implementing to benefit or to use in your specific situations. Like we are going to cover correlation in detail. Okay, so if you got the concept of correlation, you can now definitely think of like, okay, correlation is something we are getting as the response, and then we can use the part of that response in our next request. So you can now immediately relate it with a auth situation. Like I can call the auth, I can get the response back from the auth as a token, and then that token I can use as a part of my authentication in the subsequent request. That's what the correlation is. So similarly, we are going to touch different aspects. Now it's the idea or it's the understanding. I agree, like at this moment, you are, if you are going to learn quite many things, you will not be able to identify those things that you have learned, or you will not be able to clearly judge the things that you have learned to implement in your project. But to answer your question, definitely yes. If you're going to learn these things, you can definitely learn those, and later when you are kind of habitual of these things, you will be in a position to develop those logics using the things that we have learned. Okay, so to give you an idea here, see, that's what I said, that initially I put the course details or the coverage that we are going to touch in this course, but there are actually a few things which is actually missing there. Like I put like understanding JMeter, so that's not actually covering the all aspects of JMeter, and building these logics uh, is mostly a part of the controllers. Okay, like how you are fetching, how you are modifying, or how you are changing the behavior of JMeter is a part of controller. So that part is actually covered, and using that part, we would be able to build such custom logics. We would be able to fulfill the custom requirements that we want to achieve in JMeter. Okay, so there's a question like, how many projects are you covering, and are you covering mobile application performance testing? Okay, so on project part, mainly I will be covering this this demo application only. I do have a reference of a few other demo applications which I will provide you as a part of practice sessions for you. And using this application, since it's an end-to-end application, we will be learning all the concepts, creating scripts, implementing all logics, even the auth logic that we have talked, which is a part of correlation, parameterization. So all these things will be covered on this project only. Second part is that, are we covering mobile application performance testing? So no, that's not a part of this course. So we are not covering a mobile application. This course is mainly will give you good understanding of performance testing and concepts. You will be able to basically you will be clearly able to understand performance testing with all the terminologies that we use. You will be able to learn, you will be able to use JMeter and will be able to learn your performance testing. You will be able to design different scenarios. You will be able to record your script, debug and fix your scripting problems. And on practice, definitely you can learn few advanced scripting skills, building custom logics and implementing custom or fulfilling custom requirements using the different elements that we have. And basically, I'm talking about the controllers part, like looping through different requests and actually designing a complex custom logic in the JMeter script. So those parts you will be having good knowledge by going through this course. That's I mean, as a key thing that you can get out of this course. And definitely the most performance testing related questions, correlation, parameterization, scripting, and other things that you can learn from this course. Okay, so am I having any question?
Sir, in advanced section, need one certificate, right? At the time of performance testing. Then are you covering that? How to generate a certificate in live testing application?
So
In certification part, certificate.
I mean the course completion certificate or
No, in advanced section, advanced performance testing section, I think need a generate already tablets are given in performance testing, no, sir. At that time, one certificate is needed.
okay, so I'm not actually getting the, I mean, not getting it the right question might be. So certificate part, I'm not actually sure of. That's one thing I can think of the application, the type of application that you have, and if that application generates some certificate that you have to have in your client. So I'm not very sure of. And if you were just talking about the so one certificate, let me tell you. So there is a certificate requirement when you are going for a recording of the application. If you are just talking about that, so that's the one thing that's a part of script recording process. I'm not sure, like that comes under the advanced. So not very clear on that part. Okay, so there is a question like, can we integrate JMeter with Selenium? If so, are we covering any such scenario in this course? Yeah. So yes, we can integrate JMeter with Selenium. Yes. And yes, we are covering a session on that. So that's under the coverage.
Are we recording with Blaze Meter? So that also we are covering with this?
Yes, yes. So Blaze Meter is the one that we are going to learn in detail, and the local script recording part as well. So these both are covered. Okay. So that's all about this course and about this demo session. I will be closing this soon. So if you guys have any other question, you can just put those questions either in chat or you can just talk. So there is a question like what different applications are available for performance testing? Okay, so I mean, I'm taking this question as a different way, like what other applications we can test through this JMeter. I mean, this is more of that way. What other applications are available for performance testing? So, I mean, if you talk about the JMeter capability or the the protocol supported by JMeter, so that's quite okay. So so the protocol part, you can now I can get this question more correctly what I can think of. So protocol part is covered here. So these are the different type of applications that we can test. Basically, we will be focusing on HTTP and HTTPS, and in this course we are going to do JDBC, database via JDBC. That's so these two protocols that we are going to cover in this course, and definitely the REST web services, which actually runs on HTTPS protocol. So that one thing we are also going to cover in this test. So there is another question like desktop application also we can test or only web based. Okay, so we will be focusing on web applications only, but desktop application can also be tested. There is a discussion that we will be having around the testing desktop application, and I will just guide you that actually there is no requirement or there is no need to hit the desktop application. So there is a discussion that we will be having in the coming sessions, and to answer this question, if there is a requirement to hit the desktop application, you can say, or you can just think this as a way that desktop application anyway calls the web services or the APIs connected with the desktop application connected with the internet or the servers to their servers actually calls the APIs and then fetch the details and then display it back to the desktop application. So we will be more concerned about those API or web services calls going from the desktop application and not the desktop application itself, because a desktop application is a kind of client running on a machine used by a single person. So desktop application itself is not going to be a performance issues. So that's what the reason we do generally test the calls or the web services calls generated by the desktop and not the desktop application itself.
When there is a huge load, let's say, so like sometimes we like saw that it is a distributed across the different machines. So so that part will you like that how we will approach that one? Will you show that like later?
Can you just quickly repeat your question? I lost you. Just
And let's say when we have to test with a huge amount of load, so sometimes we find out that it is distributed across the different machine in some project I saw. So that's why I want to know, like they told us it is a master slave configuration they do. So will you cover that approach, that how we will able to set up and
honestly, I have not done this master slave configuration coverage in past few sessions. But initial few sessions, I'm not sure that you might be having access of those or not. The concepts are completely covered. What the master slave configuration are, what are the concepts and how you can configure. But I need to do, I will try covering that, but I mean, practical part, the actual the load execution in this distributed model, I cannot assure you that I will definitely be able to complete those setup. But the related concepts, like what are the things
Yeah,
required?
if you give the concept also, that will be fine. Yeah.
Mhm. So what are the things required? What the entire setup, how the entire setup goes? What's the master slave configuration, and what the few things you need to um, consider while doing performance testing? All these things are covered in detail. Even I will try covering a practical session, which I found a difficulty in last time and while I was doing the setup, because I'm running a single machine here, and doing that distributed setup in a single machine and actually showcase all those things was difficult for me. So that's the reason I stopped doing that setup. But entire concepts and related details are completely covered on this distributed part. Okay, so quickly, I actually also forget. I have completed this demo_1.jmx. So let me quickly run a test with one user, or by the default thread group that we got with one user, and then 1 second ramp up, and then one loop count. Okay, so how it will go? Simply, you go and run this. So here's the button start. The first one start, and the second one is start, no pauses. You can run with anyone, but has these two has a quite difference. But for this moment, at this moment, let's run with this start button only. So once I run it, okay, I get the detail under the view results tree. So do ensure that you select the view results tree, and then you will be able to look the details covered under view results tree. If I select the launch page, I get the details of this launch page or HTTP request. What are the things I have here? And I have to look at the result. So I go to the view results tree, and then I click on the launch page. This has quite many details, which will require some understanding. Like this itself has 3 tabs. So if I click on launch page, it has sampler result, it has requests, it has response data. In request tab in the mid one, it also has request body, and then it has request header. Similarly for response data, it has response body and response header. Okay, so the very first tab, let's look at it quickly. It has the thread group name, which is thread group 11, since we have only one thread group here. So that's the naming convention it has. Thread group 1, the first thread group, and first user. When I started this, so when this sample actually started at this time, what's the load time is the 1044, and these numbers, whatever is displayed here in terms of the time, is in millisecond. So also always remember, these numbers are displayed in millisecond. So 1044 millisecond, I can call it 1 second roughly. And the connect time is 856 millisecond, like how much time it took to connect to the server. So it includes all the initial negotiations, connections established, and all those stuff. So once those things are done, my response are, I mean, my requests are sent, and then my response is back. So till that, the connection time, so that's what the connect time is. There is latency, we'll talk about it later. So there are other details, like what's the data we sent in header, what's the data we got in bytes in body. Actually not in, this is not sent actually. Your header size in body, header size in bytes is the, I think the response header it's talking about, and the body size in bytes, the response body we got. So this much of data. So I mean, quite lot details. So at this moment, the key thing is to take from here is the load time, which is 1 second. So I can say that this page took 1 second of time to get back to me. So I started this page, I hit this page, it went to the server, server processed that page, and the response came back to me, and that entire process took 1 second. And another key thing is the response code, which is 200, and you can see the color of this page is green, which indicates that everything was okay. And response code is 200, which means this response was, this page was a success page. Next tab is request, and then in the request body, you can see like what request you sent with what protocol and what method. So that's what you sent. Header is sent by default by this JMeter, so additional default header has been added. You can add additional header. And then in the response body, you got all this data. Okay, so just to give you a quick hint, this is the HTML page that we got, but this is not looking quite good since it's a raw HTML. So you can change the view of this page to HTML. Okay, now if you look, it's a little bit giving us a feel of the page, how it's looking like. So there's a sign in button, and there are categories that that are displayed. So if you just hit this page, hit this request, you will get a structure like this. So that's how the page looks like. So you can change it to HTML, and you can see roughly how a page looks like. It's not a complete page. You know the reason, because JMeter is not a complete browser, and it's not going to fetch all the JavaScripts and CSS, and it's not going to parse those JavaScripts and CSS and implement on this page. If the JavaScripts and CSS are implemented as we do hit this into the real browser, and we get this much of details, so that's not what JMeter does. So go through the definition once, you will get to know that JMeter is not a browser. You can read about this section, how JMeter works. It's not going to parse the JavaScripts and CSS, and it's not going to show you a page, complete rendered page, but it's just going to fetch the response of the page you are hitting and giving you back the actual raw response. Okay, so this is how the execution looks like. And to give you a hint, you can load this page with multiple users by just changing the number of users here. Okay, run this carefully, because since it's a demo application, and you were just going to hit anonymously, so it's not something that you are just going to bombard any website with multiple users. And my recommendation is that for your practice, you can go up to 5-10 users and see the behavior, how this application loads the pages with the more number of users you are increasing. For this, I can run it with 2 users, and if you want, you can keep this result as it is, and you can run it. So 2 more pages will come here, but you can always clear out the previous results and then run it. So 2 users, first user hit this page, and the second user hit this page. So we got 2 pages, and you can run it with multiple iterations. I can run it 10 iterations with 1 user. So 1 user will repeat this page 10 times. Okay, so that's different things we have as a combination here, like how many users we want, how many iterations we want. There is a concept of ramp up that I will let you know in later sessions. Again, you can specify the thread lifetime, not the iterations, but the time. Like I want this 1 user to hit this page for 5 minutes or 300 seconds. Okay, so if I now run it, it will keep running this 1 user and will keep hitting whatever is there inside this thread group. In this case, we have just only 1 page, So this will keep going on for whatever the duration we have put here. And you can note the time from here, like it has been 16 seconds so far, and we'll go for total 300 seconds. So you can monitor the actual current execution, the duration of test right from here. And you can see like there are, you can check this scroll automatically, and this will actually it's keep going on. Okay.
We can
So
do this for multiple users also.
yeah, you can do it for multiple users also.
And iteration also we
But
can do.
at this moment, what I would suggest, since this, okay, so let me stop this test. So you can stop it, either of the buttons, stop and shut down. So there is a difference that we will clarify later. So here's the thing, either you can run it for iterations only, like 10 iterations, okay, or you can run it for duration only, because you think, right, you can do this both iteration and then duration. It's a conflict, right? So if you select infinite, this will take over, and whatever duration you put here, your test will run for that duration. And if you just uncheck this infinite, and if you put the iteration here, it will be running for iteration only. And in that case, this will not be considered. So either you can run it with n number of users with n number of iteration, or with some duration.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, welcome. So at this moment, you got too many samples, right? But understanding these samples, going through each sample is not the correct thing, because if I ask you that, okay, you ran it for how many samples, even you have to calculate it manually. Okay, let me go through and calculate all this. So there are quite easy things, quite easy ways, or quite other things available in JMeter, through which you can simply say, like, I ran 100 samples, 1000 samples, these much of samples, and the average response time was this. So basically my average response time of the page was 300 millisecond, 500 millisecond or so. And for that, you have to add a different listener. Like we added ViewResults-Tree just for the purpose of understanding the details we are getting. While doing the actual test with some number of users, when we are dealing with the 1000 of samples, we are not going to use ViewResults-Tree, because you know how difficult it is. Even I can't clearly say that how many samples I ran unless I count it manually. So things are available that we will learn under the reporting, under the listeners or report part, how efficiently we can report, what are the key terminologies we use to report these details. That's a part of coming sessions. Okay, so I think we covered this demonstration and quite the things that I have listed here, and along with your questions. But let me go through the questions once more quickly. If application have such scenarios like uploading file and going for computing values based on file data, and so can we do performance testing on such scenarios? Yeah. So yes, so uploading a file to a website is actually a part of scripting. So definitely you can do those file upload scenarios as well. You just have to design your script in a way. You can actually record those flows with the help of either extension or the recording options that we have, and you would be able to simulate those uploads to the application. When is the actual course starting? What will be the timing going forward? And will it be on Saturday and Sunday? Okay, so good question about the course duration and the timing. So this is going to be Saturday, Sunday class only. Okay, so classes will happen only on Saturday and Sundays. This will happen from 10 to 11:30, or it's not that restricted. It go up to 12 sometime. So 90 minutes around 90 to 120 nips. And the total classes will be 8 to 10 classes. Okay. So considering that, if we have 8 to 10 classes, it will take a month around to complete this entire course. If we talk about the 8 classes, so it will take 4 weekends, Saturday and Sundays. Okay, so 8 days, or it can go up to 10 classes, so roughly a month time. Yeah, so there is a question that like via BlazeMeter will we record? Yes. So we, for recording purpose, I will be using the BlazeMeter extension, which is a extension available in Chrome. So I will show you how you can record your script using the BlazeMeter extension. Again, if somehow for some security reason or for any reason, if you're not allowed to use the extension, which is the BlazeMeter extension, you can also go for a inbuilt recording option available in JMeter, which we call HTTPS proxy recorder. So that I will also show you. Okay, so when the actual course is starting, so it's going to start from the next week only. So next Saturday, which would be 20th, right? Oh, sorry, 29th. Yeah. So next Saturday, which is 29th of April, somehow. Okay, it shows May for me. Okay, so the next Saturday, which is 29th of April, we will be starting the first class. Okay, any other questions you have, you can just put it, or you can just talk to me, or I will be closing this demo session. All right, guys, then if you have any further question, what you can do, you can drop an email on this email, okay? Or if you're a part of a group, you can post those your questions into the group as well. All right, so with that, I'm closing this, and I hope I covered it well. Whatever your questions you have, I answered those questions. So let's see, we'll meet in next coming sessions. Okay, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks,
all.
Anant.
Bye.
Thank you.